With gyms being closed, it has been a solid year since I've last worked out. I got tired of watching my body wither away, and so I built this. It comes equipped with dip bars, a pull-up bar, and of course, room to both bench and squat. And because it's 2021, I added some LED tape light. Yes, I am serious. Here is a brief look at all the material you will need for this rack, although I'll also include a list at the end of the video. I start by ripping down my 3/4 inch ply into 8-inch pieces. You'll need 2 lengths at 48 inches to do this, and they're just going to be anchored into the wall. I mark the location of my studs, and then secure the ply using 3-inch construction screws, giving 2 to 3 screws per joist depending on how I felt. Unfortunately, I did have this steel column running down my wall, so I had to get a little creative here. I'll provide a full cutting list for all of your pieces. However, the one thing I will say is you're going to have 2 4x4s cut at 22 inches. I would hold off on cutting these until you've assembled the rest of the rack, simply because if your floor is like mine, it's going to be extremely unlevel, and you're going to want to cut those pieces custom to your floor. Once you have all your cuts done, you can start the assembly. You're going to want to start with your horizontal supports, the pieces that are going to anchor this thing to the wall. Ideally, you'd be using 4x4 joist hangers for this part. Unfortunately, I couldn't get my hands on any, so I resorted to using these doinky things. They're really not doing much in terms of support. However, they do allow me to toenail in some screws and stop my posts from twisting. I simply put in 2 construction screws onto each side of my posts, and they felt pretty sturdy after that. With the 4 horizontal posts attached, you can then move on to your uprights. To start this off, I'm just putting in a single L bracket onto each one so that I can make sure I get everything level before reinforcing it. You want to take your time at this step to make sure that your posts, your uprights, are level with each other. This is going to be crucial for the rest of the assembly and for using the rack. Once you got that done, you can move on to attaching your safety bars. This is what's going to help in the event that you fail a squat. I'm doing a very similar thing as with the uprights, just attaching a couple screws to start until I can get everything level. This is also the step in which you're going to have 2 posts that you might want to wait to cut for this step. See, I got the level on here, and then I take my measurement as both sections of my floor for the uprights are very different. I then screw in a 2x4 to the bottom, and this is what's going to anchor the rack into the ground. To make this feel a lot more rigid and secure, it would be a good idea to do this step. Now, I used wall plugs and screws because it's what I had on hand. However, long Tapcons would be ideal. I then add in a 2x4 below my support 4x4, and this is going to help in the event of failure. You see, those angled brackets don't do much in terms of support. They're more just to fasten everything together. But this 2x4 is going to really reinforce that. Then you can move on to putting in the rest of the fasteners and do the exact same thing on the other side. With both uprights now fully constructed, you can get into adding in the pull-up bar. I use a laser level here to make sure it's going to be perfectly straight, and then use an 1 1/8" spade bit to drill out my holes. Now, not only is this pull-up bar going to allow for a larger range of exercise, however, it's going to add a lot of structure to this rack. Having those uprights joined at the top really makes it feel a lot more rigid. I take a 40-inch length of 3/4-inch black pipe and then put a couple flanges on either side. I fasten it in with some number 10s, and it made an immediate difference. Now time for the dip bars. You're going to do pretty much the same thing here, however have the holes facing the other way. I wasn't sure initially how long I wanted these to be, so I actually got a 40-inch length of pipe and put it in until it felt comfortable. I then cut them to length and just put a couple of end caps and stick them through the holes. I decided to add 5 positions total for my racking pins. I did this so that I'd have the option of using incline bench or having different sized people use the rack if they wanted to. If you're going to be using a spade bit like I am, I'd recommend not punching through completely so that both sides can have a more clean hole. I then took a router with a straight bit and cut out where I was going to have my tracks for the LED lights. This would have been a lot easier to do before I'd assembled everything, but it kind of came as an afterthought. Once everything was fully built, I took some leftover paint from my bedroom makeover and gave it the old landlord special. I filled in all of the screw heads, so good luck to whoever wants to tear this thing out. For the LED lights, I simply put on one of the solderless quick connectors and punched the wires through down to the underside of each post. I then took some leftover Cat 5 I had from a demo job and used butt splices to connect it to the quick connects. I ran the wires underneath to hide them best as I could and painted them black afterwards. I then brought them into this junction box and created the most beautiful rat's nest that I possibly could. I decided to make 4 racking pins total. I did this because of the way that I am. Something simple like having to move a pin can be the difference of me skipping leg day or not. I took a 6-inch nipple, an elbow, and an end cap, some 1 1/4 EMT, and used this all to snug it up. And because this is all of the weight that I actually have, these things seem to do the trick. And that's it for this one. Hopefully you guys found this interesting. I had a lot of fun doing it, and I think it turned out okay. For the future, I am actually looking towards starting my own company. I want to start doing more renovations, and hopefully be able to share that with you guys. This is something that I've always wanted to do, so I'm going to give it a shot. Thank you again for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.